hello for those of you. Do you want to start your normal?
Normally what I say is, hail and well met. Welcome to Writers Not Writing. But that's one of the things we need to talk about. So
Yes.
We're glad you're here, whether you are on live or you are listening to the podcast, because we may not say hail and well met in the future, and we may not be on Writers Not Writing. We are contemplating a rebrand where we change the name of the show. And the reason for that is the show itself has been changing over time, and we feel like it might be the appropriate time for a change. So we want to share some ideas we have about new names, and those of you who are on live can respond immediately, and those of you who are on listening to the podcast or watching this on YouTube can put it in the comments and tell us what you think of these ideas. So shall we dive into some of those ideas we had?
Absolutely.
So should I start with our favorite, or should I just go through? No, we'll go chronologically, and you can tell us what is your favorite.
Well, let's introduce ourselves first.
Oh, okay, fair. That's important.
Yes, that is important.
That's important.
For those of us here that don't know us, wait.
Yeah. Those of us who don't know us.
Yes. For those of us who don't know us, I'm Chrys Gorman. I am the executive merchandising director of NotAPipePublishing. Hence the t-shirt designs. For those of you that can't see us on the podcast, I've designed a new t-shirt with a Molotov cocktail with a ring of flowers around it that says, enjoy your life as an act of rebellion. Once I finally get around to finishing the Shopify, it will be up and available.
And this design that I'm wearing is currently available. It shows it's the heart that is broken, that is the American flag as a broken heart. And it is the logo from my book, Dear America, A Breakup Letter.
Yes.
And that's something that I think is pretty straightforward. It didn't need any text. I think a lot of folks will go, oh yeah, America broke my heart too. I understand that feeling.
Yeah. Essentially, what we are trying, we love the Writers Not Writing podcast. It's been fantastic. But our lives have changed since we moved to Spain. And so the podcast, it's kind of time for like maybe a little tweak to the podcast to reflect the changes in our own lives.
So we were contemplating new names for the show. And we've got a handful that we've been considering. I'll tell you one of my early ones that I really liked was Widening Gyre. And that's a reference to William Blake's Things Fall Apart, because the show has changed. I should do backstory. So originally the idea for the show was I would interview writers, but not in a kind of process way. There are a lot of shows out there that are kind of about writers, by writers, for writers, right? And they're about how writing process and that kind of thing. And those are interesting to writers and no one else. And often, I would get, I've been on a lot of those shows, and you get questions about, how do you develop characters, and how do you go through the plotting process and that kind of stuff. And those can be a little dry. And so I wanted to do a show that helped introduce authors to readers. And when the show began, it was just about creating a funny, fun show where, I would ask them about, how do you procrastinate? What have you been up to lately that away from your writing? And help people get to know these authors that they're reading. And that worked for, more than 100 episodes.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that time period, the world is on fire. And it got to the point where it felt inappropriate to be exclusively talking silliness. I think in this time period we have to be able to find a healthy balance, which is difficult, where we are acknowledging that we need to stay sane, right? At the same time that we are, acknowledging that the world has got some real problems and we need to speak to those.
Yeah.
And so I started asking these authors more about how are you using your platform to fight back about whatever your issue is that you're focusing on. And one of the good pieces of advice that you will hear from a lot of folks is that you can't take it all on. When you're in country, when large swaths of the world are, under attack from the kind of fascist far right, if part of their game plan is what they call flood the zone, right? And so they try and attack every front at once. And if you as an individual try and just keeping up on the news, it's exhausting, right? It's too much. And so it's important to do what you can to be knowledgeable, you know, as a citizen, but to, in terms of your work, focus locally and focus on an issue or two. And often those will come from your identity. So if you are a person like, you know, a cis white guy with a lot of privilege, maybe you focus on a particular marginalized community that does not have that privilege. If you are a member of a marginalized community, maybe it is easiest for you to focus on defending your community. And that's entirely appropriate, right? And so I started asking these authors who would come on the show who were members of the LGBTQIA plus community. You know, what are you doing to protect your community? Or folks who were, you know, members of, you know, the global majority, other ethnic groups, you know, how are you protecting your community?
Yeah.
Or, you know, folks who are neurodivergent, you know, what is it that you are doing to watch out for these, you know, attacks on people who are neurodivergent? And Crystal is distracted by somebody in our building who is making a lot of noise.
Slamming doors or something.
It's nobody in our apartment. So that changed the show a little bit, and I think in a good way, but it got to the place where this whole idea of, hey, here's a silly show about procrastination didn't really fit.
Yeah.
And so then when we moved to Spain, there was more and more content about, this is about our lives, right? This is what we're going through.
Yeah.
And so we started talking explicitly about the move and the rationale for the move, and that made a lot of sense. And now we're thinking, okay, we're going to be engaging more and more, hopefully, with other expat creators.
Yeah.
And so what would be a, you know, realistic, valid, kind of clear way to convey to somebody who's tuning into the show, this is the show you're listening to, right? This is not writers not writing silliness about authors procrastinating.
Yeah.
This is a show that addresses the era in which we live, and also is fun, right? Is acknowledging that we need to be able to maintain joy and protect
well, and the
our
show
own
started. The show started with a host that was living in the U.S.
Right.
And most of the guests also living in the U.S. Right. And so, you know, it's kind of now time to maybe expand beyond that.
Right.
Maybe.
So we started thinking of some different titles that might be good choices.
Yeah.
And we thought about, so one of the ones that I thought about was Widening Gyre. And the reason I hesitate there, you hear me hesitate, is this is one of those words, and I don't know if any of you have one of these words. If you've got one, put it in there, in the comments or in the text, that I'd read and mispronounced in my head as gyre.
Yep, me too.
And my whole life, and I was a high school English teacher, I was misreading this word to students every year for 2 decades of teaching, and it is not. It is gyre, as in gyrate. I'd never thought of the connection there, right? It is a whirlwind, but it is gyrating. So it's the Widening Gyre. So I thought about Widening Gyre as a show, and as a show title, and I think there's some really good things about that title. It kind of captures that we are recognizing that the world is crazy, and we are also broadening the focus, right?
Yeah.
We are our gyre is widening as the falcon cannot find the falconer. So we thought that would be a potential good title, and let us know what you think of that in the comments if you like that one, or is that too weird, right?
Downside, well, I mean, potential upside is if that's what we call the show, I will never ever have to introduce the show because it's a word that I 50% of the time just can't say. It's not that I mispronounce it, it's that my brain gets halfway through the word and
gyre?
forgets. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of
At least it's one syllable. So that one is that's a possible title.
Yeah.
And we thought of some others when we did our first show that was on TikTok Live, last week's show. At the end of it, we looked at one another and we were like, that was unhinged.
Yeah.
And then that made us go, oh, you know, the Unhinged podcast.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought about that.
And we kind of went on some alliteration around Unhinged.
You know, unscripted and unhinged, only it's not really about scripts.
Yeah.
You know, and so
what was the one that I said?
Uncensored and unhinged wasn't bad. I do some work around preventing book bans in the United States through Publishing Professionals Against Book Bans, an organization of publishers. who are trying to fight book bans. We thought about that, uncensored and unhinged, but is the show really focusing on that? The other downside of that one, I think, is that it sounds very much like this is a comedy podcast by skilled and talented comedians, and we are not comedians.
No. Not intentionally.
Not intentionally, right. People can laugh at us, but we're not guiding that through any intentionality of our own. We're good at being funny.
Yeah.
So we decided to, that probably wouldn't work. But maybe you like uncensored and unhinged.
Maybe.
Again, put in the comments if that one's a winner for you. But then Chrys had the idea that I think is the best so far.
Was that my idea?
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about, we've moved to Spain, and she said maybe something having to do with Don Quixote. And
did I say that?
I think that was as far as you got, but I think it's a really good idea. And we considered the idea of tilting at windmills. And I like that one a lot.
I like
because
that one too.
It's deeply meaningful to me. I literally had one time sat down with Picasso's painting of Don Quixote and made my own painting of it to mimic his style and had it up on the wall in my house because I love that painting so much, and I love that concept of, taking on an impossible challenge out of, idealism. I mean, I have been often described as overly optimistic, and here I am, cynical enough about what's going on in my own country to flee it, but I do, tend toward optimism, and so the idea of, as an activist, tilting at windmills, I think is wonderful. That being said, and you can tell us in the comments, if you hear tilting at windmills and you don't get the reference, then it doesn't work, right? If you're just like, what, this is a show about windmills? So, speaking of, and this is another interesting thing I thought about, and maybe this will help that in the long run as people learn this, the President of the United States is a moron. I don't know if you had not caught on to that. And he's really against wind turbines of any kind that generate electricity. And he keeps referring to them as windmills. They're not windmills. A windmill is a mill. It mills flour. These things still exist. Windmills are a thing, but those big things creating electricity are not technically windmills. So, windmill, every time
in his defense, he probably can't say turbine.
Yeah, maybe. That's right. Somebody probably explained this to him in written form, and the man's illiterate, so he didn't read it. He was like, if the last person I saw didn't tell it to me, I've forgotten about it. So, maybe if the tilting at windmills, if you get the reference, if you know that story from Don Quixote, we did think about quixotic, which is the anglicized word of Quixote. Turned into a word in English as an adjective, and that's a cool word, quixotic. Like, I like it, but I worry if it was the Quixotic show, would people get that reference either? So if you like either of those, please let us know.
That's tilting at windmills.
But I kind of am leaning toward tilting at windmills. It gives us, some imagery to use and something to come back to. Were there any others that I'm forgetting? So we had widening gyre, tilting at windmills, uncensored and unhinged.
I mean, you had the list. I don't know that we actually ever wrote it down.
I don't think we did make a list
we wrote it down.
Those. We made a list of questions.
But yeah, I don't, a lot of it we kind of went, okay, what are some writing alliterations? What are some...
Right.
I went through, Webster's Online and was like, okay, what are some synonyms for unhinged? And they're all... No, those are all referring to crazy people and are a little bit offensive. So we're not going to go with any of those. And we don't want this to be a specific, this is not a traveling podcast.
Right. It's not traveling. It really is. I think we're not going to hide from the fact that it is a political podcast. This is about, expats saying to people, in our own country and around the world, hey, this is, how we are, but also continuing to use it as a platform. We want authors out there and musicians and poets and artists to be able to be the guests on the show and come on and say, hey, I am, trying to speak out through my art about whatever is going on, and we can platform those folks and say, hey, we want to promote your work. So I think there is that healthy balance of helping readers, listeners get to know these artists, and also staying true to, and we are explicitly anti-fascist. Like, we are going to be a place where we're going to talk about these threats to your ability to use your voice, through your art. Fascism is a threat to artists, almost always one of the first targets, not as the end goal, right? It's not that that they want to get rid of artists and then stop. It's because artists say the world doesn't have to be like this in a myriad number of ways, right?
Yeah.
And if you can eliminate those voices, then people start to go, oh, this is just the world we live in now, I guess this is fine. And so you need to have those folks who say, consider alternatives, use your imagination, the world could be better. And that's one of the things we've really found in moving to Spain. It's broadened our minds incredibly. There were so many things we accepted about the United States where we just thought this is the way life is. And getting away and saying, oh, you don't have to send your children to schools where they go
with
through
bulletproof backpacks.
Shooting drills.
Yeah.
That's not required for life. That's very much a choice. And the further you get, the more of these things you realize, right?
Yeah.
Poverty in the United States is a policy choice. There is no reason anybody should be hungry. That is a decision we made together. And
it's not only that. I've been thinking it's this weird. It's almost like, at least for me, leaving the U.S. was almost like leaving an abusive relationship, and so it wasn't until
exactly that metaphor.
It wasn't until we had been in Spain long enough to kind of get through the immigration process. But then it's very much similar to leaving an abusive relationship where you have to allow your nervous system to readjust. Mm-hmm. And then, so it's not only realizing like, oh, things, you don't have to live like that. Like, your body has to reset. And just being here in Spain, like, breathing is easier. Like, all the stress and everything, like, all of that is still there. That doesn't go away.
Yeah. A move is still highly stressful.
But there's a sense of, and it's hard to articulate, and I imagine I feel it a bit differently as a woman than you do, but there's a sense of a little bit of that constant fear of existing as a woman is easing. And I can't ever imagine that happening within the U.S.
Right. Well,
just existing outside in the world,
from my identity,
like a little bit of that fear has just kind of started to ease.
But every interaction you have, in the United States, folks from other countries are going to kind of think, "Wow, that's wild that you've built that world," right? Every interaction you have starts from the presupposition of this person could be carrying a gun, and we respond to one another with this presupposition that violence is a legitimate way of engaging, right? And so this interaction could turn violent.
Yeah.
And the whole incel community is built on this idea of to be an alpha, I walk into the room and I scan every other guy and I decide I'm going to evaluate him to fight with him, right? That sense of everything is about potential violence is just under the surface all the time.
Well, and then you add in the U.S. Republican attacks on rights, on immigrant rights, on body autonomy, on women.
Women existing.
You add in Republican attacks on those spaces. That increases that fear of ever-present violence, and then you compound that and you add in, going back to 2016, you add in MAGA. And so walking down the street, existing anywhere within the U.S., there is a constant awareness that 33% of the people around you are going to be MAGA members
and don't want you to exist.
and don't want you to exist. Not only don't want you to exist, but have made it very, very clear that they see violence as not a good alternative, but violence as a baseline of how they can treat people.
Yeah.
And so existing in a space in which 33% of the people around you, they don't want you to exist. And then it's even worse once the Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade. I don't remember who the pundit was that came out and said, "Your body, my choice." But the moment "your body, my choice" started to circulate online, walking down the street, existing as a human being, knowing 33% of the people that are out there around me believe that it is a perfectly valid thing to make a rape joke.
Grape joke, but yes, we're on TikTok. We have to say grape.
I don't actually think we do. I don't know if we do during live.
I don't know either.
I don't know. We'll find out.
But you know that is, or even that is a legitimate part of the discourse.
Yeah,
you got a president talking about shooting people on Fifth Avenue or punching.
Yeah.
You know, the police should be more physically violent towards people.
Government agents pulling up in unmarked vans and you call it what it is, kidnapping and trafficking people off of the streets in every major city now.
Yeah,
including Oregon.
Now it's in martial law. I mean, even before we left, we kind of saw that coming, and so. You know, that kind of pervasive dread is something that we, want to be sure we are giving voice to. We're not hiding from that as a topic to talk about on the show, and also keep it light, which is a really big challenge.
Yeah.
But I think it's a challenge that speaks to the way everybody is trying to navigate this emotionally right now.
Yeah.
How do you stay sane? How do you not feel guilty for joy, too, is another issue that is challenging. You want to be able to hold on to some joy in your life. That's important. That is a good thing. Because you don't want to turn that over to Nazis, right? You don't want to turn over and say, I am going to let these people take all the joy out of my life. That's a win for them.
It's not only that, it's feeling peace over here while knowing...
not feel guilty about that?
Feeling guilty about the sense of peace that we feel over here while still knowing that there are people that we care about back in the U.S. who are existing under the current regime.
So that
there's an inherent... there's a relief.
Yeah.
And now I can hear Trump's voice and watch news, and it doesn't make me want to scream. Oh, well, that wasn't the word, but again, we're on... but now there's a distant perspective from it,
and
a safer perspective. Survivor's guilt is a really good... Survivor's guilt is a really good way of describing that. That's really accurate.
Yeah. So that how do we hold on to that and recognize it's real, and at the same time produce a show that anybody would want to listen to, that it is in any way entertaining. And so
we just made America look like, in our defense, fully honest, but basically just said being in America is being in an abusive relationship, and leaving it leaves you feeling survivor's guilt, like you've left your children behind with your abusive husband, which is exactly what it feels like to leave America.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor.
NotAPipePublishing is excited to announce our huge summer sale. Everything on our online store is 25% off. Let's face it, it's hot. So read a great book in the shade, wear a new shirt to the barbecue, sport the merch, and save. Share this with all your bookish friends. bit.ly/NAP store. bit.ly/N, lowercase a, capital P, lowercase store.
Attention authors, poets, and visual artists. From Palestine to the poles, the Congo to Ukraine, Sudan to El Salvador, from the streets of Los Angeles to the swamps of Alligator Alcatraz, the world is in danger. And too many people are watching in silence. Speak out while you still can. Volume 1 of the Antifa Lit Journal is available now, and NotAPipePublishing is excited to announce we are open for submissions for Volume 2. Authors, poets, and visual artists, if you want to take a stand and use your talents to reject fascism and advocate for a beautiful world of diverse voices, justice for all, and liberation from the rapacious billionaires and self-serving plutocrat politicians trying to deceive, divide, conquer, and consume our world, send us your best work to consider for inclusion in the next volume. Find submission guidelines at bit.ly.antifalit. That's bit.ly/ANTIFALIT. Put pen to paper and let everyone know you demand a better world.
Part of that kind of format change is going to be a new name, possibly, unless you say to us, no, stick with writers, not writing.
Yeah.
We want your input on that, too. But part of the change is, Crystal recognized we need to change the question. I've been asking the same questions for 100 episodes, roughly, to all of these authors that we have on the show. And so
That was me. I did
there
that.
are questions we will still ask. I'm still going to ask, how are you using your platform to fight back, right? How are you using your voice to fight back in these times, whether that's through their art or, their art brings in the people and then they are using their TikTok or they're using their threads or whatever, but what are they speaking out about? So that is something that we will want to get from the guests as well. But we also, and we will also ask about, what is a way that you are de-stressing in the midst of all of this, right? And those are, I think, central to the thrust of the show. But in addition to those, we wanted new kind of get-to-know-you questions. For example, I always asked authors about what is something you've been daydreaming about? And that was a good way. Sometimes their answers were marvelous, and that would get us a real insight into, how does this person's brain work? What is it they've been considering?
Yeah.
But some of those were duds, right? Sometimes people would go, nothing really lately. Okay, I don't know where to go from there. So Crystal had this very good idea of asking, kind of a variety of questions, a little menu of questions. And
then I
having
went
a lot
overboard.
more teed up. Oh my gosh, she went overboard.
I was like, let's find 20 questions and we have
100. And there's no way in an hour-long show we're going to ask 100 questions, and no way we would get good answers, right? We'd be going, okay, moving on to the next one.
We rapid fire
word. Yeah,
with
everything
a
would be
time
rapid
clock.
fire. So don't worry, we're not going to do that. We want to ask questions that draw these folks out, that let the guest, get to share who they are.
I mean, we could do a rapid fire. Maybe that would be the show.
Well, maybe rapid fire is not a bad last one to end with. And of course, we would frame it. So the beginning, we would do a little intro, and they get to kind of plug whatever it is as their product, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's part of platforming them. And then at the end, we would come back to hey, check out this person's book. So that will be part of the show. But right now, our outro is way too wordy, and so that's one of the things to tighten up and just give that person a chance. We will give a very brief shout out to our the folks providing our music for intro and outro and musical segment. But otherwise, we gotta really let them
Which,
breathe.
since we're talking about music, if you are a musician, you have music that you would like in the intro or outro to the show.
I mean, if we do Tilting at Windmills, maybe
Reach out
one of
to
those
us.
versions of of Impossible Dream.
That I just spent a half an hour Googling trying to figure out where I saw it in a movie. I swear there's a scene in a movie or a TV show where they're having a conversation and I don't remember what they're talking about, but he's just like, to dream, and see just the line.
To dream,
Google is not helping
the
me.
impossible dream.
But I don't know what it's
that's from. And so that original
It's
song,
driving me
we know that
crazy.
song originally came from Man of La Mancha, that it was done by Frank Sinatra in This Life, I believe is the name of the old Frank Sinatra film. And we know that it was used in Keanu Reeves' John Wick, the trailer for John Wick 3, and in a scene in John Wick 3. Not one of those.
Yeah.
There is some other movie that Chris has remembered this from, and she can't do it. And so, very specifically, I like to do a shout out to a couple of folks who are, our film friends. So if you are, Luke Elliott does a podcast, which I want to encourage everybody to check out, which is called Ink to Film. I almost said it wrong. Ink to Film. And it's a podcast where a couple of authors and screenwriters write about or talk about how something goes from being a book. They really focus a lot on novelizations into, or novels that then become films. And so they're very knowledgeable about films. So,
Yeah.
Luke, if you are watching this, do you remember where somebody burst into the chorus of Dream the Impossible Dream? And the other that I was thinking of was the Flophouse. So I've had
It's
Dan
driving me
McCoy
crazy.
and Elliot Kalin on the show before from the Flophouse. Haven't had Stuart Wellington on yet. Stuart, reach out. We want to have you on the show too. And so those guys know their movies, good and bad. She's really, got pretty terrible taste in film. So
I beg your pardon.
she likes disaster movies, sports movies, and war movies, which are three subgenres that tend to have a lot of bad movies.
Listen, I have anxiety
They're
and
predictable.
ADHD and depression. They are my comfort movies.
Yeah, they're predictable.
They are predictable.
What's the moon one?
Okay, Moonfall was terrible.
It's really bad.
It was. I like a bad disaster movie, but that was bad.
Are there good disaster? What would you consider the best disaster movie?
The best disaster movie?
Poseidon. What's the Poseidon? The boat.
Armageddon. It's
If
the
you're
best.
saying the best disaster movie is Armageddon, I'm going to stick to my my
It's the best.
judgment that your taste in film.
It's the best. I can
questionable.
give you my top 5 disaster movies.
Go for it.
Easily. Armageddon, because you cannot, there is not a better film, there's not a better clip on any film, like on TV, well, okay, not a better, that might be a little bit hyperbolic, a little bit, but I'm sorry, Liv Tyler, with her hand on the computer screen, saying goodbye to Bruce Willis as he's blowing himself up on a meteor, and the
straight out of Star Trek 3.
What's the song?
Star Trek 2.
What's the song
the
that
hand?
plays? The Aerosmith song that plays. That is an
It's iconic.
iconic scene.
You ever-
Oh, and then when
You ever
Ben
seen those
Affleck is
cheese
singing
heads that they
"Leaving
wear
on
in
a Jet
Wisconsin?
Plane,"
Those are also iconic. and
when
incredibly
Ben
cheesy.
Affleck is singing "Leaving on a Jet Plane" to Liv Tyler before he gets on the show. I mean, come on, Armageddon
Okay.
is up there. Geostorm. It's so good.
That's so bad.
It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. Gerard Butler? Are you kidding me? Absolutely. It's so good. I love it so much. I don't care how bad it is.
Hurts my
It's
hurts
so
my
good.
soul.
Poseidon.
Okay.
You mentioned Poseidon. Poseidon is good. Poseidon is.
For those of you just
really
joining
good.
us, she's listing. These are the best.
These are the best.
of the disaster film
These are the
genre,
best.
and oh, they
These
hurt.
are the best.
Oh,
Okay,
they're so bad.
Poseidon. San Andreas.
Better than Dante's Peak.
I do not like Dante's Peak.
Okay. San Andreas, apparently, where they actually have lava flow through the streets of Los Angeles.
No. No.
Oh, that's Volcano.
You're thinking of Volcano. Volcano and
Both
Dante's
bad.
Peak came out at the same time. I don't really care for either of them. San Andreas is the one with The Rock.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the San Andreas Vault. It's John Cusack. Or no, that's the never one. Never mind. Ignore that. We'll get to that. It's The Rock. It's Dwayne Johnson. And it's so good, and I love it.
So bad.
And number 5, John Cusack in 2012. It's so good. Those are my top 5. Somebody in the comments said Titanic, and yes, technically Titanic is a disaster movie.
Oh yeah.
But Titanic is like
Better.
if disaster movies were, if a disaster movie was a rom-com.
I think they all try and have a romantic.
Like a
song.
rom. What would that word be if you? What would that
And not
portmanteau
prom.
be if you were combining like disaster and romantic?
Well, it is a historical romance.
So like technically it's a disaster movie, but it doesn't fit with my comfort
Don't get me
disaster
wrong.
movies.
I
love Titanic. Don't get
I'm
me
not
wrong.
a fan of Titanic either, but I do think it is better than any disaster film. Or if it is a disaster film, it is.
You're an
the best
author.
of them.
You're an author who has never watched Misery. And I feel like every time you judge me about my taste in
movies... This is a call-out that's going to protect you from the
every time you judge me about your taste...
The debate that's actually on the table, which is that disaster movies are bad
Every time you judge me about my taste in movies, I'm just going to mention the fact that you are a writer who has never watched Misery.
I've read the book.
You gotta watch the movie. I
should watch that movie, but I still don't think it changes my opinion that disaster movies tend to be really bad movies.
So good.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
I have no idea. I don't know.
We lost the plot.
Somewhere around movies.
Kind of like in disaster movies, where they often lose the plot.
They don't lose the plot. The plot is formulaic.
Yeah.
I know exactly what's going to happen. That's what I love about them.
Like in Moonfall?
That was so bad. That was when there were aliens inside the moon, and that was the big twist. Absolutely
You just gave it away to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Spoiler alert.
When they were running all around bouncing on the Earth in low gravity because the moon was pulling them towards the air.
Oh my god, it was so bad.
The physics of it, everything about it, it's painful.
So bad.
Yeah. Luckily, the acting was incredible.
It was not.
No, nothing.
It should have been.
It's good actors in other things.
It should have been, and I can't. You can't blame that on the actors, though.
No,
you have to blame that on the writers.
That material is.
When you have those kind of actors, what's the main character's name? What's his name?
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name. Now we're gonna have dead silence. We can't have silence.
Skip tough guy. I don't know. I mean, everything about it was just like, it's just bad.
I don't think that was it.
You don't think it was Skip Tough Guy?
I don't think so, but it was a really good guess.
Yeah.
It's a good guess.
So now
I don't know how we got on this.
I'm totally lost now. What were we were talking about how we were going to have these questions. That we were going to come back. Oh, and then you started talking about if people wanted to contribute music.
Yes.
Which absolutely, write into NotAPipePublishing@gmail.com.
And then you were talking about... I don't know why I said that because I don't know what you were talking... I don't know how we got...
So then I was talking about the intro music, and that got me talking about these other film podcasts, and that was the train of thought.
Oh, okay.
So Flophouse, great podcast. Ink to Film, great podcast. Check those out. And if those hosts know in what movie did somebody burst into dream the impossible dream, and maybe that was the only line.
It might not have even been a movie. It might have been like an interview or an SNL appearance or something. Oh my
gosh.
I don't know.
I
can picture it in my head.
Very difficult.
I can literally picture it in my head. But I can't picture the actor's face. I don't. It's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy. I'm going to sit up at 3 a.m.
Luke Elliott or Elliot Kalin or Dan McCoy or Stuart Wellington goes, oh yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm gonna sit up at 3 a.m. and I'm just gonna yell out an actor's name, and you're just gonna be like, is she dreaming about other men? Which isn't gonna happen. If I'm dreaming about other people, it's other women.
It's gonna be a woman, right? There's somebody out there. When normally we're doing the podcast, I imagine some listener is screaming the answer at their phone.
Yeah.
But it's recorded. They're watching it too late, but we're online.
But now our listeners that are listening to the podcast, when it airs, can join our next live,
and they can come in and say, exact same time. So if you were watching this live, our plan is to have this be, your time, depending on what your time zone is. But right now, every week. So for us, that's Saturdays at 8 in the evening. If you're here in Spain, if you're in Central European time, that's going to be 8 o'clock our time. We were 3 minutes late this week, but we're going to try and be on time. And that means if you are watching in the Pacific time, it is 11 in the morning. And if you are in Eastern time, that is 2 in the afternoon on Saturdays. So please come back. And somebody who watches, you're right, somebody who listens to the podcast this week or watches it on YouTube and goes, I was screaming the answer last week. Come back and tell us. What was that TV show or interview or film where somebody burst into dream the impossible dream?
I can remember the context in which it was happening.
Yeah.
But I cannot remember. I can't remember the movie. I can't. It's gone.
I don't know.
It's gone. And I don't even know how we got on the topic. How that got into my head. Because
Tilting at Windmills. It's from that line is from
To
Dream
right.
the Impossible Dream comes from.
That's right.
the
That's
novel
right.
Don Quixote,
Yeah.
which was then included in
Man of La Mancha.
Man of La Mancha, the musical, hence the song.
Gotcha.
So this train of thought is not only that we got, like lost. This train of thought goes back to the original writing of Don Quixote. This is a very old train of thought that led through the history of musical theater and then into film and now all the way to...
Well, I mean, we've been together long enough that you know what my train of thought, like what my train tracks look like.
Yeah, skip the tracks sometimes.
I mean,
that's just the way it goes.
yeah.
What is mine doing here?
If you don't interact within a specific amount of time, you gotta try it again.
I dragged the puzzle piece to the wrong place. Those of you who are watching, sorry, this probably looks very weird. Okay, we're back.
It'll automatically boot you out.
Yeah, and so there will still be some editing this week. I will have to cut that out, that horrible noise the door made, so
yeah,
that'll all be cleaned.
The beginning part where you were trying to get the...
You're looking at my armpit, sorry about that, everyone.
That's okay.
So, questions. So,
yes.
One of the other things we realized
the train
was that, so let's get the train back on the tracks. And one of the things we realized is that we're going to need to have some new questions. And we came
You know what
up
I just
with
realized?
a bunch.
My train on the track, have you seen those videos where they have like the little children's train or like the Christmas train and there's a cat that's laying next to it that just kind of like boops it off and tilts the train over?
Yes.
Or am I the only one that comes across those videos?
But I don't think that's how your train of thought works. I think if you've ever seen some of the early cartoons, there would often...
That comes across those videos.
But I don't think that's how your train of thought works. I think if you've ever seen some of the early cartoons, there would often be scenes where a train would leap, like, in this anthropomorphized form, onto another track.
Yeah.
And then it, Mickey driving the train or Bugs Bunny or whatever would just jump the train to another track.
But I also have like 38
and maybe even jump
trains.
it back. And that's the way your train of thought tends to work, where people have to go, I was following you, and then you just leapt to this entirely different track.
38 trains, and sometimes...
It's a lot of trains and a lot of tracks.
Sometimes the track, like the track of the conversation, I have the first part of it in my head.
Right.
And then, so I've said the first part of the sentence in my head, and then when I just come out with the second half of the sentence, you're just like, where did that come from?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
And, So welcome to maybe writers not writing. Maybe. I don't know what I just did.
Yeah, don't do that.
I didn't mean to.
I can fix it.
Okay, you fix it. I just didn't want to have to go like all...
it's a good idea to do that.
Up here. There we go. I don't know how I did that.
Okay,
so maybe writers not writing. Maybe.
Yeah, so now we wanted to talk about potential questions. So this is a very meta show where, talking about the show within the show. But we wanted to get your input on some potential questions that we've been discussing and kind of talk about how we came up with these questions. So you mentioned you came up with, how many would you guess?
I don't know.
I think it was over 100.
Yeah, probably.
And we've gone through and winnowed these down.
To be fair, I did steal some of them from
just
the
sources
internet.
online. Some of that's,
and Stephen Colbert.
Research, but we came up with some good ones.
Imitation is the...
Yes, highest form of flattery.
Highest form of flattery.
So we came up... Oh, that was weird. So we came up with some questions to run by you all. And some of these we'll share our own answers, but some of them will just tell you kind of the thought process of why we think they might be good ones or why we may end up not using them. So you want to start with that first one there?
It got really warm in here as soon as we shut that door.
And the fan, we turned the fan off too.
I know, but now I'm starting to sweat.
Yeah, it's hot in this space.
It's really warm in here. I don't think there's an AC like vent in here.
No, there isn't.
And there's no window. Well, there is, but it goes to the outdoor patio, which is actually an indoor.
Well, and folks who are regular
Spain.
listeners to the show remember the time when we did not have air conditioning, and I was sweltering in the studio. So it is better now, believe it or not, but it's still very hot when it's just the two of us in here gabbing. So you want to walk folks through the first questions, and we'll kind of...
Okay. Yeah. So this was just kind of like we went out to dinner and had a brainstorming session. Of questions that some of them were like, the internet suggested this, so we'll write it down, and some of them were like, ooh, I like this question, so we'll write it down. So should we just run through and just kind of
and talk
go from there?
about each one.
Okay, this one it seems a little funny to me. It seems a little intentional.
I think this is very you.
This is the very first question on the list.
I wasn't attacking you by putting this first.
It feels personal because this is a direct attack on me. Because when you read that obituary, if you read that on my obituary...
So you list the question, this story is not going to make sense.
Absolutely no, you were talking about me. What dangerous animal would you risk your life to pet?
That is so Crystal.
That is me. That is me.
That's Chrys.
That TikTok video where that black man says, please tell me white women, why all of you would just see a bear and just run and say puppy. Have you seen that video?
Oh yeah, and Chrys
and then
is
he
that
stitches
white
it like all people stitch it all the. I'm that person. My stepson goes to school at OSU, and I saw a post on Facebook saying, warning, there's a mother bear and her cubs wandering around campus. And I messaged my stepson and said, hey, Noah, did you hear? And he was like, yeah, we all got that email. That email was directed towards people like you.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse you, but also accurate.
Right.
I know my answer to that question. 100%. I know my answer to that question.
What dangerous animal would you risk your life to pet?
What animal?
There are more than one, but...
What animal do I know, but like number one?
Yeah.
What animal do I know would immediately eat me, but it would still be worth it to give it a little cuddle before I died?
Yeah, what's yours?
Polar bear.
Polar bear.
Polar bear. It's just
look very cuddly.
It's a white fluffy puppy.
Yeah.
That's it. Polar bear.
Murder puppy.
100%. It would absolutely... I watched a documentary on polar bears. That thing would absolutely... Yeah. Just a fun fact about polar bears. Because their food source is so scarce, they have an incredibly powerful sense of smell. Their body, they have a limit. They have a litmus of the amount of energy they will expend to hunt their food source. So if you make it too difficult for them to eat you, they will give up.
Yeah, they'll go away.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a very funny comedian who was pointing out kind of the racial valence of the names of bears. So you have, black bears and you have brown bears, but the most dangerous bear we refuse to call the white bear, because the most dangerous bear is the white bear. That is, and so for that we hide that and call it the polar bear.
I hadn't really considered that.
Fitting, right?
That is fitting.
Yeah.
That is fitting.
Polar
bear.
The polar bear
Absolutely.
would be the one you would pet.
Without hesitation. 100%.
The white murder bear would kill the white woman who pets animals.
Worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
I honestly don't know what would be my super... It would probably be a large cat. I think I could imagine myself going, I think this tiger will be okay to pet. It looks cat-like. It looks like a kitty, and I'm sure it would purr. And, until,
It would be fine, and then you try to... It would be fine, and then you try to scratch its belly.
Yeah, jaguar, something like that. And then it would be like, we're playing now, and then it would play with my corpse.
A puma.
So, yeah. So I could imagine that happening.
Do you know what is the deadliest, cat?
The large cats? I don't.
Of predator cats?
I don't.
It's the Pallas cat. Pallas. It's a little teeny tiny. It's a little teeny tiny cat. They're this big, but it the amount of prey that it kills per year.
Well, house cats kill.
No, but this is it's the number one. It hunts small things, but it's technically the most deadly cat.
Yeah, there's a great.
But based on the amount that it feeds on.
There's a great oatmeal.
It's also very, very cute, and I would pet it.
Cats are incredibly murderous, and they're one of the only species that murders for essentially fun. They're not doing it to they're just hone their skills, right? And
they will also eat you if you die.
Yeah, they will eat you
Home
if you
alone.
die. So yeah, maybe a house cat is the one that I would pet that would eventually eat my face. Those of you who've got cats and you're like, no, don't disparage cats. Don't worry, I love cats. I'm saying to you, I love cats too much. They're adorable. The dogs are listening to this. And
it's so funny because the next question on our list is, what would you like to be the headline of your obituary or the epitaph on your tombstone?
That's probably why those.
Which is really funny because the epitaph on my tombstone would literally be, I can pet that.
Speaking of, I need to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Karen Eisenbray, who listened to last week's show where I stumbled over the distinction between an epigram, an epigraph, and an epitaph. And she pointed out that the one that is on gravestones is the epitaph.
Also, this is why the English language is stupid.
Is mean to, especially to second language learners. Epigram, epigraph, and epitaph, and epithet are all words. Epithet is a slur, epitaph's what's on the gravestone, and then epigram is epigraph is a pithy saying, and epigram is the one that ends up at the first chapter of a novel. See, I've gotten them backwards already.
What is the root? What's the word I'm looking for of epi?
I don't know, because it's the same it's the same as in EpiPen or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it means beginning. But I could be wrong about that. Epigenetics, what comes before. So I think it's before.
Huh.
Although that's, epitaph.
What's that word called? What's the word called?
Prefix.
Is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah, prefix is a portion of a word that's at the beginning.
Did you know helicopter? Helicopter is not, we don't say helicopter. It's not helio and copter. It's helioc and opter, O-P-T-E-R, or T-E-R. Like, the space between in helicopter is not where you think it is. It's not helio.
Oh, that it was helic and opter?
Yeah.
And
it's like pater.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know what the roots mean?
I do, but I don't remember them.
Yeah, that's essential to make that a good story, I think.
Probably.
Okay, so
I was just reminded of that today, and I forgot.
I think that could be an interesting question to ask folks. What would you like to be the headline of your obituary or the epitaph on your tombstone?
Ooh, the train is going
might
crazy
get some
today.
People to to give us some insight into who they are. So that's fun. Let's go to the next one.
I do like that question. Okay. So the next question we're debating is, what's an embarrassing story you're willing to tell?
And that one's, I think, straightforward, right? That's on its face. That could be a really interesting question, and maybe it would get people to share a really great embarrassing
But they've got to be willing to share it.
Right.
And it's got to be somebody who, gets embarrassed.
Right. Well, and peek behind the curtain, we provide these to writers in advance. I know journalists don't provide the questions to people they're interviewing kind of on principle, and I think that's really smart. Generally to try and avoid that when they're going to be doing face-to-face interviews. But unless they're writing a puff piece, which is the ones I tend to experience as a writer, often they will send them to me because it provides comfort, right? And that's exactly what we're going for. We want this to be a comfortable experience. So we provide the questions to these folks in advance. And I think that's one where if somebody went, I have a good answer for that, and they could elect that
one. Or they just leave it out.
Yeah.
Because if you asked me on the spot, what's an embarrassing story you're willing to tell?
Oh, yeah, you'd struggle because you would go, I didn't realize that should be embarrassing.
Well, no, not entirely. But, I kind of would be like, which one?
Right.
Which one is embarrassing enough? Because I feel like there are some that are
deeply embarrassed about, I wouldn't want to share.
Yeah.
Because I tend to overreact to shame. If I find out that somebody is angry with me or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, and I perseverate, I fixate on it. And I'm like, they're mad at me and they've forgotten about it and don't care anymore. There was somebody, this was, a source of deep embarrassment for me when I was in, I believe, 5th grade, either 5th or 6th grade. There was a girl I had a crush on, and we were at some family or church camp or something. And so our families were all there, and her mother was taking a picture of her, and I ran behind and threw up bunny ears or something. And her mother scolded me for ruining what would have been a really good picture. Oh. And I felt so terrible. I, had done this terribly awful thing of ruining this good picture of this girl I thought was cute. This girl does not remember me. Her mother does not remember me. None of them care. I should not still be carrying around this deep shame that I ruined this moment for them. That would have been this, a photographic masterpiece. It was such a dumb thing, and I am now, 30-something years later, still embarrassed that I so miscalculated socially that I ran up and threw up bunny ears behind this girl to try and get some attention, right? So, I mean, like, so maybe that is a good example of, something you're embarrassed about and willing to share. Clearly, I'm willing to share it, but I don't handle embarrassment well at all. Am I blushing right now telling the
A
story?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, this
a
is,
little bit.
I get so overly embarrassed about things that other people would be like, that's not, let it go. It's not a big deal, but I have trouble going, I made this person uncomfortable, or I said the wrong thing. That's probably a very Midwesterner, Midwest Protestant phenomena. Like, we're all supposed to be, very buttoned up and,
See, and I think
deep shame.
my embarrassing would be like the times I said a word that I'd only read.
Oh yeah,
and I said it out loud.
Like gyre pronounced as gyre. Yeah, I'm embarrassed about
the
that
worst possible situation.
Yeah.
Like I was in a group of friends in like middle school, and I was trying to sound cool, and I used the word orgy instead of orgy.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know what word you were trying to use. That's funny.
Because I didn't know how it was supposed to be pronounced, and they all laughed at me.
For saying orgy?
Orgy.
I think it's kind of funny sounding, but...
or when I didn't know how to pronounce Theodore Retke.
I
in
mispronounced that
a college class, and my college professor, who I had a huge crush on,
right, it always complicates
corrected
it when
me.
There's that aspect, but it's
or every single time I have.
Is it Retke?
Yeah.
See,
I think.
I said.
Or every time I would have to say.
Wait, is that Rilke? Is that who you're talking about, or Ruff? How is it spelled?
Roth.
Yeah. That's.
It looks like it's Rothke.
I think I thought it was Rothke.
It's not.
But it's not. It's
Retke.
Retke. See, I didn't know that one.
Maybe.
But it's like Van Gogh.
Or it's like when I have to say Keats and Yeats. I have to say if I'm talking about Keats, I have to say Keats and Yeats in my head silently.
So you remember which is which.
Because they're spelled the same way.
Yep. The English is mean. Blame the Brits. So that one could clearly work. That can clearly lead to a lot.
Yeah.
We also considered asking, what's something you used to believe that you no longer believe? And this one I think is particularly important in an internet age of hot takes and double downs.
Yeah.
Right? Recognizing that it is really important to be not just willing to change your mind, but to acknowledge publicly that you have changed your mind.
Yeah.
And to give people the grace to change their mind.
Yeah.
That's going to be really important in the years to come. As people are wanting to come back from the, political ideas that have become acceptable, not just political ideas, call it a political idea, racism, sexism.
Yeah.
These are, ideologies that people are going to need to be able to turn away from, and we need to be able to say, it's okay to believe something and then later realize you were wrong. One of my favorite quotes, and I made it into an epigraph, I believe it's epigraph, in one of my novels, is from Wittgenstein, the philosopher Wittgenstein, where he says, I'm gonna butcher this and not get it, from memory, but it's something to the effect of, if there were a verb meaning to believe falsely, it would not have any first person present indicative. Now that sounds very technical, he was talking about linguistics, but when you break it down, you think about what he's saying is, there is no way in any language, in anywhere in the world, to currently say, I believe something which is wrong. Why? Because everything that we believe to be right in the present tense, right? Of course you believe it now, but if you recognize that you were wrong about something in the past, then it follows that it is possible you are also wrong about something right now. And that kind of humility, bringing that to any kind of conversation about ideas, is really important. And so being able to say, here's something I used to believe, and I was wrong, is really healthy for moving forward.
I mean, I used to believe that you could alter the way things operate in the United States simply by voting.
Yep.
I mean, I used to believe that your vote mattered because
I still think your vote matters.
12 years in school learning.
I do not believe it's fair.
Yeah.
I believe it's, speaking of
Well, and
tilting
that's
at
my point,
windmills,
is it's no longer fair.
it's never been fair.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. But
It's less fair now than it ever has been before. So.
Well, no. Really?
No, I retract that statement as soon as you said that.
I was gonna say, like, no, it was far more unfair when it was only
in my
handled by white
lifetime.
men.
I was in my lifetime.
It has gotten less fair than it even was.
It's less fair in my lifetime than it ever has been.
Time in our lifetime.
That is
remarkable.
That was the that the other half of my thought was I was thinking.
No, that's
since I've been alive.
That's a really important point, but
that's probably an important distinction.
Never been
I
fair
have nowhere
for
to put my
people
arm.
of color. I mean, it is. Our system is deeply flawed, and this is one of those things where I didn't see it because I didn't have to see it, right? And so I thought, hey, the American system is the best system in the world. No, it absolutely isn't and never has been. Realizing that is a real challenge.
I was about 3 years ahead of you. I was about 3 years ahead of you of we can no longer change the system, we have to burn the system down.
Well, and see,
and you were still of a, no, we have to fix the system.
I'm still not a believer in burn the system down because burning the system down is something that people with a lot of privilege say, not realizing burning the system down is going to hurt the most vulnerable the most, right? And so
I still don't see how we fix the system under
radically. I do believe the system needs to be radically changed, but
I think you have to burn the system down because you have to burn out the rot within the system.
That kind of Turgenev anarchism of destroy the system in order to build something better will harm the people who are most vulnerable the most. I think it really has to be a radical rebuild. What I would recommend is something like denazification or like the radical Republicans after the Civil War. Like you've got to say...
Yeah, America doesn't really do oh my bad, let's fix it.
Yeah.
At all.
We did for 8 years. There were 8 years of radical reconstruction after the Civil War, and then America caved and went, this is really hard. Let's just agree with the plantation owners and let's go back to the way it was because change is difficult. And didn't sustain the efforts and booted out the radical Republicans and all of the black senators and Congress people and said, no, we're going to go right back to what this country was founded on, which is land theft and theft of bodies. So that's grim, right, to say that, but that is, really what happened. And so, if we're going, I do believe in radical change, but I don't believe in destruction as a means to it. Like if if we were just to blow up institutions, that's really what like the Turgenev anarchists were like, blow up churches and banks, and then eventually what comes about will be better. No, if you start doing that, the backlash is going to fall not on the aristocrats who blow up banks. It's going to fall on people of color. It's going to fall on the poor. It's going to fall on, and so you will notice a pattern of the burn it down people tend to be Bernie bros who are
absolutely not
white, male, wealthy people. They want to destroy it the most.
I'm just a fan of the guillotine. I feel like if we had followed the French's example, a lot of these problems would solve themselves.
Yeah, the Reign of Terror didn't go well for anybody. It was bad for the aristocrats, but it wasn't great for a lot of other folks afterwards either. So, this is unfortunately a relevant debate. Like, how is America going to recover from its current turn towards fascism? Any way that it tries to recover will be bad. My cynicism is that folks are going to go, that was bad. Let's pretend that it never happened. Move on. That will not work. But if it's, let's destroy everything in order to get rid of this, that's going to be really awful for folks. And we went, where we want to be when that happens? Not there.
Listen, we burned down the White House once already.
Yeah. That was the Brits that burned it down in 1812. But yes, it was.
Do you know how I know that?
How do you know that?
Do you know how I know that the White House burned down once already?
How?
A disaster movie.
Learning your history from Moonfall, folks.
Not Moonfall. Not
or
Moonfall.
Geostorm.
No.
Those of you just joining us, Crystal is a fan of the worst movies.
I think that one was White House Down.
Well, okay.
Jamie Foxx, Channing Tatum. He burns down the White House.
Terrible taste in movies.
Not to be
I love you.
confused with Olympus Has Fallen, which is Gerard Butler, who does
Doing
not
the
burn down the White
same
House.
thing. Yeah, but saving the president.
That's one of those where those two movies with the similar plot lines came out at the same time.
Yeah,
but Olympus Has Fallen was so much better that he got 3 movies out of that
You know
deal.
how long it takes to make a movie? Can you imagine if somebody in, 2 years ago wrote a Rescue the President movie and it was in production and now they find themselves with everybody going, Rescue the President? Maybe not. That movie would not fly now. It would
What was the
feel
other one?
very different.
What was the Deep Impact came out at the same time as Armageddon?
Yep. And it's
And they were
actually a
both,
more
like-
thoughtful film and more scientifically accurate. But yeah, that's not gonna. And Morgan Freeman as president, pretty freaking great. But yeah, no, that didn't work for you. It is a little dry. I love science fiction films, and some of them stink too. So I can acknowledge that my taste in movies is not the greatest, but it's not the worst.
I'm just saying, my disaster movies have taught me a little bit of history.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
To your credit, that's good.
That's all I'm
You got that
saying.
one.
All right, next question is, what's something you've been daydreaming about lately? And we have that. Mine's always winning the lottery. That's pretty easy.
But I think that next one there, our next one is what's the most unusual dream travel destination? And we talked about this one, one variation is like, what is a place that you want to visit that's on your bucket list? And
Yeah.
the point I made is, I would much rather hear about the most unusual one.
Yeah.
Because, there are places that are very famous where lots of people want to go, and that's wonderful. You should go to those wonderful places that you have wanted to visit, even if there are lots of people there. Like, see the Grand Canyon in your life, see Rome, see the Great Wall of China. Great, that's all cool. But those are not the most interesting.
See,
Sometimes people will have ones that just, I've never heard of, and I think that's really cool.
See, for me, there were places in the U.S. that I always wanted to visit that I kind of had to wrap my brain around accepting that I'm not going to be able to ever visit. Because my worst case scenario is that what's happening in America doesn't end in 4 years.
No, I don't believe it does.
It doesn't just magically. People have told us before we moved, it's just 4 years. You can live through just 4 years. It's not. The laws and the systems and the harm that is being done is going to take generations. I can't imagine feeling safe to go back. And
I can imagine feeling
the
safe
Country
to go
Music
back
Hall
and-
of Fame was someplace I always wanted to visit.
I can imagine it getting to a
Like-
place where we can go back and visit.
I don't know.
I'm not sure it'll ever go back to being a place I want to live.
Maybe? I don't know.
But I plan on going back and visiting my family. And,
Yeah. I don't have family to go back and
in
visit. I have
another-
your family to go back
yeah,
and
in
visit.
another administration where I at least felt like, okay, the kind of powers that be wouldn't be actively setting out to harm me
Yeah.
as a tourist.
Yeah.
Right? I could go back to visit and do so comfortably. I just, now what I know of the country and being able to see it from the outside, I don't think it's ever going to be a place where I would say, that's a good place to live.
Yeah, no.
No, it's actually really not.
No.
It's not till you get away that you go, oh, there's a reason that people everywhere else live longer.
Yeah.
It's because when a car backfires, you don't duck.
Yep.
Like, that doesn't happen here, right?
Yeah.
And so...
That is the first I hear a loud bang, and my first instinct is to duck down, and then I look around and go, nobody else is ducking down.
Nobody's ducking down. Nobody is thinking when they're sending their children to school, today might be the day that my child gets shot in school.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen here. And recognizing you don't need to live that way, but Americans have chosen to, is enough to make you skeptical of why you would want to choose those people as neighbors.
Yeah.
Why would the people choose to say, I really want to live in a place where some children starve? That's a choice you've made.
Yeah.
Every single one of you. And acknowledging, oh, these people choose so that you can have the ultra billionaires to have children starve. Is
A
that
lot of
somebody you
people
want
got
as your
really
neighbor?
offended at the idea of free lunches for school children.
Yeah.
Really offended.
If you are offended by the idea of free lunch for children, I'm not sure I want you as my next door neighbor. That does not make me feel safe.
I think we have like 50 more questions.
Yeah, we're going to really have to plug through. Where are you?
Yeah, but I mean, we're pushing up on an hour and a half now for the podcast, which is really long.
Well, we could come back to them. We could do another.
We
of
could
these.
come back to them.
But if any of these questions
We
so
could
far
also just come
you're
back to them
saying-
in another live as well, too,
Yeah,
not
that's what I
another
mean.
podcast.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also we had to shut the door because it was very loud out there, and I am
So well, sorry.
sweating.
So for our outro of the show, since it's
So
a very
we're
meta
gonna
show,
skip through some questions here.
Yeah, we'll come back to some of these
We're
other
gonna,
ones. I think we could do a whole nother episode.
We probably could do an entire other episode
I think
just
that
questions.
wouldn't be bad. I mean,
Because it's...
and maybe by next week
Yeah.
we'll have an idea for the title. So
Yeah.
please give us your
What is your
suggestions.
dream travel? Your most unusual dream travel destination? I
Well,
don't think I
this
actually
one's-
know the answer to that.
This one's probably not too obscure, but I would love to climb Kilimanjaro, Mount Kilimanjaro in Kenya. I believe-
Climbing.
The nice thing is it's not the kind of mountain where you have to get a pick and you just walk up it. It's a slope that is, it's walking up a mountain, but it's
Okay.
walking. It's not incredibly difficult as mountain climbing goes. And so that's one, but I would like to see it before the snow on top melts and never returns.
Yeah.
Because with global climate change, there will no longer be snows on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. And that's one where you start off on the, hot savanna and you walk up to a point high enough that there's snow on Kilimanjaro, and that would be really cool. So I would like to see that. There are a lot of famous castles I would like to see that, maybe nobody's ever heard of. Apparently there is a castle in somewhere in Eastern Europe that is been turned into a Dracula theme park, and that sounds super fun. I would really like to go to the vampire themed castle. So I've got some places I want to see.
I've got a ton of places on my list, and it's funny because so many of them are like literary inspired.
Yeah.
Places that I've seen. You already knocked off the number one place on my bucket list that I wanted to visit. That's where you proposed.
Yeah.
I'd
I
always
proposed in Florence.
Yeah,
which
not
was-
just in Florence, but I'd always wanted to go to the house, the flat that Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert Browning lived in when she wrote her letters to Robert Browning. I read those in middle school and always wanted to visit. And so that's,
And
one
so
thing
knew
that I checked off.
So that's where we went, and
But
that's where I proposed.
now, and you already know this, but you don't know that my perspective on my answer has shifted a little bit. I would have told you the one place that I want to visit more than anything else are the Great Pyramids in Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
And you know why. Because it was...
Spite.
But wait, but not really.
Okay.
But no, I thought it was. I thought it was spite and pettiness. My mother, that was the one place, that was the number one on her list of places that she always wanted to visit. And she had the means, and she had the time, and she literally could have done it at any time in her life. And then she died before she did it. She just kept putting it off. And I kind of had made a joke of saying, I went through an ancient Egypt phase in middle school where I was obsessed. I wrote a book about it in middle school. With drawings and everything. And so I've always wanted to go to see them.
Yeah.
Prior to that. But now the perspective has shifted is I don't want to end up in the same place as her where I didn't go. She had no excuse.
Right.
No excuse to not go see it. At any time she had the means. She had the time, anytime she could have done it. And I don't want to live with the same kind of regrets that I imagine she had. I don't want to. And part of it really is spite and pettiness of she may never have been able to do it, but I'm going to.
Yeah. I've been before. I would love to take you. It is really amazing. I think the political situation in Egypt right now is maybe not the best, but then it's been not the best for a long time, and still a lot of tourists go and are safe. So,
but there are so many places that I want to visit, and so many of them are literary inspired that you're just going to be like, oh my gosh, we've gone to another setting from Pride and Prejudice. Oh my goodness, we've gone to another. I want to go to Scotland because I want to go on the moors, and I want
of course. Yes.
So many of them are from...
We will. Those are places we will go to. And I've been very spoiled in getting to go to a lot of those places before, but I am totally willing to return.
There are places in England that I want to visit because they are settings in some of the books that I've read that are very close to us now.
Yeah. So
you know, I
absolutely
want to,
will.
you know, I want to
One of my
visit the
places
Louvre.
is
I want to
I
visit
really want to
the.
see St. Petersburg, and I don't feel comfortable going to Russia right now. And so
Yeah.
that's one that is disappointing, and I am hopeful that the Russian people will assert themselves and get rid of their oligarchs and dictator, and Russia will be a place that I can come visit someday.
I want to
So if
visit
you're
the
watching
Paris
this
catacombs.
and you
like,
you know are in Russia and considering risking getting politically active, and you need some motivation, do it so that I can see St. Petersburg. Risk your life with you know, and stand up to your dictator just so I can see St. Petersburg. That'd be really nice of you.
what's the place that does Christmas, like, is it Holland?
There are places in like Bavaria and Germany that like make a whole town Christmassy.
Yeah.
In Germany. So those would be
I thought
fun
there
to
was
see.
a place in the Netherlands that did
There's
that.
one in Washington. There's one in Canada we can go to, where they kind of make their small town into a little Christmas village.
There's like a big one though.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember. I'd love
We'll
to.
consider.
I'd
We're going to
love
be going
do that.
to Frankfurt, hopefully for the International Book Festival, and so that will be fun. My only experience of Frankfurt is literally the Frankfurt airport. I've been in Germany, but I've never been to Frankfurt, so that's
Well,
one
that's
I'm looking forward to.
you know, Germany. I'd love to visit historical sites.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's one of those I've always wanted to.
Yeah,
Those
there
are
are a lot.
depressing.
Well,
I'm gonna take my Jewish husband on a tour.
Right. No, I won't go. So, the folks who are into traveling, like I will tell you, I've been to a concentration camp. I went to Dachau, and I've been once, and that is enough. I will never go back. I have had that experience.
know that.
I've seen, toured Dachau. I do not need to return. So that's one where you absolutely you should see it, and I would encourage everyone. These are historical places that have been kept. I mean, it's the exact opposite of the kind of Confederate monuments debate.
Yeah.
Like you keep this to recognize the horror
Yeah.
of it, and not to elevate. Like they do in the United States, the people who are most traitorous to their country, it's horrifying. And yeah, if somebody of Jewish descent, my ancestors didn't die in Dachau; they died in Auschwitz. But I did visit Dachau, and that's enough. I do not ever need to go back.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I should tell you about it sometime. But boy, that's grim. That's how we end our show. Dachau.
Maybe one more question.
Yeah, let's do another question so we
Maybe
don't end
one
with
more
Dachau.
question
That's
so
a
we
really
don't
good
end
idea.
on
Let's
that.
not end with that.
Let's
note.
not end on that note.
Okay. Oh, this one I really like.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is one that I'm considering. So you can read it to everybody. But I think
If don't make me read that because that's a word
Okay.
that I mispronounce all
if
the
you
time.
had to describe your personality using two animals, what would be the chimera that would best describe you? So if you were a mixture of two animals, what two animals would make up your personality? I love this. I just think it's fun to picture that chimera.
Okay,
do
so
you
what's
have-
yours?
Oh gosh, I don't have an answer. I would have to give it more thought. But do you already know yours off the top of your head?
I know mine.
What's
I
yours?
knew mine when we talked about the question.
Ah, okay.
You've had a couple of
I
days.
should have thought of it.
You didn't think about it?
I'll think about it right now. You go first, though.
Okay, I'll go first. Mine, the raging ADHD, I would be a raccoon and a squirrel.
A raccoon and a squirrel. So it'd be
raccoon
the
and a
front
squirrel.
half would be the raccoon because you don't want to have the.
No, absolutely not. No, my front half would be the little teeny tiny squirrel face and the little teeny tiny squirrel arms, and then I'd have that. What's that kids cartoon with the robots? Have you seen that movie, Robots? The kids robots?
Mm-hmm.
The mom is this like ball character, and her body is like massively circled ball, and so she looks like she's got a giant ass. So I would have the little teeny tiny squirrel head, the little teeny tiny squirrel legs, and then my like waist and butt would just be this giant raccoon.
But then the tail of a squirrel.
And no, have you seen a raccoon's tail?
You want the raccoon's tail.
Yeah.
And that's your
The
personality.
Yeah.
A squirrel raccoon ass.
Yeah.
Kind of like it.
Come on, if you had to combine two animals to create me, you're telling me a squirrel and a raccoon aren't the two.
Yeah. No. I like that. I think for me, it might be have you ever seen an owl bear in like D&D?
Yes.
I think I might be an owl turtle. So yeah, you put it. I think
expecting
personality-wise, I think I might be an owl turtle. I love turtles. I love that idea of carrying your house around.
I don't know
and kind
what
of
I was
protect.
expecting
Right,
that it was
right.
a turtle.
And then, this nerd, so like the like with the little diploma hat from the Lollipop commercial, I'm like the nerd owl in his turtle home.
Okay.
I think that might be me.
Okay, but so when you anthropomorphize a turtle, like you anthropomorphize an owl, and I think of Owl, Winnie the Pooh, like it's Owl.
Yeah.
My brain, do you know what I go to when you anthropomorphize a turtle?
What?
It's the little kid in the cartoon version of Robin Hood.
Yeah.
The little
That's
tiny.
me. That's me. That little kid turtle is so me. Isn't that my personality? Yes, I am. If you've ever seen the Disney animated Robin Hood, the turtle is me. Like, I want to be Robin because everybody wants to be Robin Hood. But if I'm honest with myself, I'm the turtle boy, and I always kind of have been. And then I've to overcome my sense of I'm just this little turtle boy, I became a super nerd. Like, that would make it better. And I'm the owl turtle boy.
How would you even combine that body, though? Like, how would you even combine?
I think it would be kind of owl bear. They would have to be more proportional, but
Like,
yeah.
how?
I think.
Like, a turtle is like 4 legs, and an owl is like up. Like, how do you combine a horizontal and a vertical animal?
Well, I think it would end up having to have the owl's
because I don't even know what
legs
part
as
of
the
an
back
owl's
legs.
head is the head.
Yeah, I think the owl's legs would be the back legs, just coming out of the turtle shell. And then the front legs would have to be turtle legs, because otherwise, owls...
But, like, what kind of head does it have?
Or it could have wings. It could have wings coming out and keeping the turtle... No, I think to be cooler, I think I would want this turtle shell to be slightly modified in that it would have, holes for the wings on the back. And so this
I'm just
would be
picturing a turtle that walks upright with like an owl's head that can duck down into its shell.
Yep. And wings that can pop into the shell or pop out and have enough lift to lift the shell. I'm going to draw this character. If you're out there and you have artistic talent at all, I would love a cartoon owl turtle with wings that come out of the shell. And the arms, the top legs, whether it's standing up or on all fours, are turtles, and the rear legs are owl's legs, and then the tail is an owl's tail. So it's this feathered tail coming out, but which can go back into the turtle.
But like you're mixing and matching parts. I was thinking of like a centaur, where you've got to have like
you've got a little mix and match going on too. Yours isn't having it.
No, but mine is like front and back.
Yeah, but it's
like the body of the torso of a man and the legs of a horse.
But you chose kind of halfway through the torso to have the raccoon butt begin. So I think
just want
you want the wiggle.
I want the wiggle. I want the little raccoon wiggle.
That's an excellent place to stop. We're going to end with the raccoon wiggle, folks.
Little raccoon wiggle.
And my owl turtle. So thank you for joining us, those of you who've been here on live, and those of you who've been listening to the podcast and watching on YouTube. We really appreciate your time, and we will be back at the same bat time, same bat channel next Saturday. I need to find a cooler way to say that's not super dated. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's just is like embarrassingly old, man.
Ah, is it really?
Maybe it's come back around to, that's corny, and he watched that show, and I watched that show a lot as a kid. The old live action Batman was on Nickelodeon, and like they would set the camera sideways and like walk funny with a rope. I mean, if you've never seen it, it's very corny, and that also was formative for me. Okay, well,
that was formative for you in a different way in which the animated Robin Hood was
Yeah, no, I did not learn anything about my sexuality from Batman the way you did from Robin Hood, where you fell in love with Robin Hood and animated Fox. Although Maid Marian, absolutely.
I should have figured out I was bisexual a lot longer.
No shade. Yeah,
I was very confused.
Yeah. Okay, well...
Animators knew what they were doing.
Those animators were these super lonely dudes, and they, like, plugged a lot of their own loneliness into all those old Disney movies. Like, you watch them and you're like, okay, these guys, they figured out a way to horn it all up.
My God, do you know what I just saw on the news a couple of days ago? And I don't know if it's accurate or not.
What?
I really freaking hope it is. There's a rumor going around that Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are going to make another mummy movie.
Ooh.
Sorry, I was thinking about movies that made me...
That made you discover your sexuality? Yeah, The Mummy is the classic example for a lot of bi people out there. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you all for your time, and we're going to get out of this incredibly hot, sweltering room, but we will be back with you next week.
Really warm in here.